Today I want to share with you my conservation story. It includes being a queen, machetes, and the power of the presence of a little girl. You see, love for nature, curiosity about wildlife, and passion to protect God's creation, those are the things my soul is made of. I also had the privilege to grow up in a loving family, so I always knew I wanted to dedicate my life to conservation. This was so evident even when I was a little kid that my brother knew that all he had to do to make me stop crying was to recognize me as queen of all animals. Because even as a child, just the thought of protecting wildlife brought me so much joy. Even today, my family still uses this nickname from time to time. In 2009, I finally got my first job on the field. I had to check a list of species that were almost certainly extinct. Within this list was a small endemic lizard, Abronia campbelli. So I started to gather all the information I could around this species, but I found little to no information about it. Farmers told me that they have never seen an animal like the one I was describing. And this makes sense because Abronia campbelli lives on top of trees, so it's a very hard animal to see. On the other hand, local villagers knew exactly what I was talking about, and they reacted with a lot of fear. They believed that Abronia campbelli had the power to kill people even from above the tree, so that at any encounter with one of them, they killed them. Within this context, I kept searching for Abronia campbelli. After a few days and a lot of work, I finally saw it. Abronia campbelli. There it was, this lizard, with modified scales in its head resembling a dragon, and a long, prehensile, monkey-like tail. It was love at first sight. And as you do with any new crush, well, you want to know everything about them. So I dedicated my efforts to discover the secret life of the rare and elusive Abronia campbelli. During my fieldwork trying to get to know Abronia campbelli, I was approached by a few villagers. They told me that there was somebody else looking for the same exact animal as me. This led me to a house where I found a cage with Abronia lizards inside. That day, I realized that besides habitat loss, Abronia campbelli had another big threat: illegal traffic. In that house, I met a guy. Let's call him, for safety reasons, Juan. He was the guy that collected all the lizards for illegal pet trade. I started talking to him. I was explaining that this was an endangered species and that there were national laws protecting it. And he was trying to explain to me that he had no idea about it and that he was only trying to provide for his family. As I kept talking to Juan and his brothers, I realized that I was surrounded by roughly 10 men that were holding, kind of casually, but also a little too tight to their machetes, and the conversation only kept heating up. Suddenly, I saw a little girl peeking through the door. It was Juan's daughter. She was very curious about the animals in the cage, but she was also curious about the conversation we were having. I wasn't the only one that noticed her, and her presence had the power to change the energy in the entire room. We all got calmer, and we all just wanted to do the right thing. Eventually, we got and released all the animals into the wild, even with the help of the guys that originally were holding to their machetes. I didn't know it back then, but that was the start of Project Conservation Abronia. Even today, Juan is a very important member of our conservation team. 12 years after my first encounter with the species, I work with families, farms, and communities to create biological corridors to protect, connect, and expand the habitat for the species. I needed to do something to save the species from habitat loss, illegal traffic, and fear-based killing. I was up for the challenge to turn the enemies into allies and the threats into conservation opportunities. I am a witness that this change is not only possible, but it has already started. With the Future for Nature Award, I will be able to take this project to the next level. When people ask me why I chose to work with this species and why I chose to face all these challenges, the answer is that it was never a choice. A world without Abronia campbelli on it is inconceivable to me. Also recently, I became a mom to a beautiful baby girl. I'd want her to live in a world where Abronia campbelli exists, along with a lot of other species. And who knows, maybe her presence will also have the power to change the destiny of another endangered species.